to the next point. We should ensure that whatever we say is clear.
That means work is being done. We can see that it is in opposite direction.
Hello, my beautiful and wonderful students at home. I'm Abbas Shehu by name. You are a commerce teacher as usual. Today we are going to take a look at a new topic and a very interesting topic. That is to deal with documents that are involved in the course of buying and selling. Documents used in buying and selling of goods. There are so many documents that usually exchange hands between buyers and sellers. These are the documents that we shall be looking at. We're only going to take a look at some of them in this particular class. In our subsequent class, we will look at the other ones. Now, we intend to cover the following as our outline. 1, we'll look at letter of inquiry. 2, quotation. 3, order. 4, invoice. 5, advice note. 6, delivery note. 7, catalog. And the last one, 8, price list. These are the ones that we intend to cover for this particular class, like I said. Number 1, letter of inquiry. And I want you to pay attention very well to the emphasis I'm going to be making in terms of who is the one sending the document, who is the one receiving the document. Letter of inquiry is a document usually written and sent by a buyer, inquiring, asking about the availability of goods to be bought. It's a document usually written by the buyer to the seller, asking about certain information pertaining goods. Pertaining goods he intends to buy. Certain information as far the quantity of the goods, the prices of the goods, the terms of trade, so on and so forth. These are what are normally contained in a letter known as letter of inquiry. And like I said, it is a letter written by the seller, by the buyer to the seller. In your exams, you may be asked to write on documents that are normally written and sent by either the seller to the buyer or by the buyer to the seller. So I need you to pay attention as I emphasize who is sending and who is receiving. This one, like I said earlier on, I will repeat for the last time, it is sent by the buyer to the seller. Now, what are the uses of this document? Number 1, it is sent to find out about the availability of goods, their prices, terms of payments, and the rest. That is 1. 2, it informs the seller about the goods required, the goods that the buyer is in need of buying, the quantity, the time of delivery, times of delivery, so on and so forth. And for those of you that are with us, watching us through the television, you will see on but what we have, a sample of letter of inquiry. Just like any letter, you have the address of the sender, you have the address of the receiver. Here we have the address written as number 20 Remai Road, Angoshiano, Kaduna, dated 28 July 2020. And it is addressed to Jibawa Islamic Bookshop and Stationery, College Road, Angwan, Dosa, Kaduna. Dear sir, we have the heading, letter of inquiry. And it says, we write to inquire about the following items which we need urgently. 1, 100 copies of Holy Quran. 2, 20 copies of Sahih al-Bukhari. 3, 30 copies of Ibn Majah, 4 copies of Lisanul Arab. These are the items the buyer is asking of, whether the seller has them. We shall be very grateful if the conditions and terms of payment are made clear to us. Yours faithfully, Khadija Ismail, Mrs. This was a sample of a letter of inquiry. Now we go to the second document, which is known as quotation. Quotation. This document is a document that the seller responds to the buyer. It's the document that is sent by the seller, telling him about what the buyer, or telling the buyer what the buyer has inquired about. So a quotation is a statement prepared by a supplier or a seller of goods or services for a particular order, which shows the current price and terms of trade. It shows the current price of goods and terms of trade. And it is applicable only on one transaction, or for one transaction. It is only for one transaction. You inquire, then you are given the reply. The reply is what you call quotation, and it gives you details of what you are asking of. And that's why it is said it is only for one transaction. Uses of quotation number one, it serves as a source document. And by source document here we mean it is used in keeping records. From this document, a buyer or a seller will be able to write down what he has sold or bought. That's one. Two, it also shows evidence of transaction. That yes, something has taken place in terms of transaction between the seller and the buyer, or vice versa. This is another sample of a quotation as inquired by Khadija Ismail. This is the quotation given to her. So we have the address of the sender, the supplier. We have the address of the receiver. Jubawa Islamic Bookshop and Stationery, College Road, Ongondosa, Kaduna, dated 28 July 2020. That is the sender. The receiver, Khadija Ismail, Mrs., number 20, Rimai Road, Angosha, New Kaduna. This is the body of the quotation. It contains catalog reference, numbers, quantity, description of the goods, and their unit prices. For the first one, which is Holy Quran, 100 copies, and each costs 1,200. Sahih Bukhari, 20 copies, each one costs 3,500. Ibn Majah, each copy costs 3,000. Lisanul Arab, each one costs 45,000. And of course, below it, we have delivery within 21 days. That these goods can be delivered within 21 days. And that there is what you call cash discount of 3% if payment is made within 21 days. And the last one is trade discount, which is 25% from order. This is talking about trade discount, talking about the more you buy, then the less money will be deducted for you as you buy more. It encourages bulk purchase. That's just a sample of a quotation. Like I said, it is a document given by the supplier or the seller to the buyer as a form of reply to his letter of inquiry. So we have now dealt with two documents. One is a letter of inquiry given by the buyer, and the other one is a quotation given by the seller. Then we go to the third document, which is known as order. Order. Just like you hear from the name, order. It is a kind of a command given. It's a statement sent by the buyer to the seller, stating the full description of what goods are to be sent. that he has agreed on the quotation given. He has agreed on the terms of trade given, the prices given. Now, having agreed on that, he now sent an order for the goods to be supplied. And the moment the moment the supplier or the seller receives the order, we will quickly act on by sending the goods to the buyer. So one, like I said, it is a statement sent by the buyer to the seller, stating the full description and quantity of goods required. After this buyer has gone through the catalog, he will then place an order. The order will show the quantity required, the types of goods, condition of payment, delivery, method, so on and so forth. Now we go to a sample of an order. The addresses are there for both the sender and the receiver. Please supply the following. Now we have quantity. And then we have description. We have catalog reference, unit price, total price. The items are there. We have the Holy Quran, which is 100 copies. Sahih al-Bukhari, 20 copies. Ibn Majah, 30 copies. Nisa al-Arab, 4 copies. The unit price, 1,200, 3,500, 3,000, 45,000 respectively. Then the total is given at the site. That's talking about an order. Now we go to document number 4, which is known as an invoice. An invoice. Mind you, we have something similar to this that we call pro forma invoice, which we shall discuss in our next class. But this one is just invoice only, just one word. An invoice is a document issued by a seller to the buyer, indicating the products or goods, the quantities and the agreed prices for such goods or services that the seller has already provided the buyer. This document is sent usually with goods. After order is being given, after order is being made by the buyer, the seller now will send the goods. And when the goods are sent, a document normally follows them. And this document is known as invoice. This document accompanies the goods. And of course, gives details of the goods sent. Give details of the goods sent. This is very important because it helps the buyer to know whether the actual goods brought are the actual goods that the sender is sending. It helps the buyer to compare the goods physically and the ones written on the document. Now, there are so many things that are included in terms of the invoice. So many information. Details of different things. Number one, it gives the list of goods bought and their description. Number two, it gives the quantity of each purchase and price. Number three, charges for packing the goods. Number four, means of transport. Number five, terms of delivery and payment. Number six, total amount expected from the buyer after discount. Number seven, discount granted. And the last one, name and address of supplier. All these are details that are contained in an invoice. Now we go to use of invoice. Number one, it shows details of goods sold or bought. It serves, number two, it serves as a receipt. Number three, it is used in recording purchases or sales journal. And sales or purchases journal is dealing with where a record is made on sales of goods on credit. Now we have a sample of an invoice here. Jubawa Islamic Bookshop is the supplier, supplying to Khadija Ismail of Angoshani Kaduna. And these are the items. Their quantities, description, unit price, and total price, as well as discount given. That's just about an invoice. Now we go to the next document, which is document number 5. We'll talk about letter of inquiry, quotation, order, invoice, and now we are going to advice note, which is number 5. From the name advice note, it is a note in form of advice given to the buyer to prepare in terms of receiving the goods. That the goods he ordered for are on their way coming. So he or she should be prepared to receive the goods. That's just what it means by advice note. It is a note. It is a document usually sent by a seller to a buyer, informing him or her of when goods are to be sent and the venue for the goods to be delivered. Period. It is usually prepared and dispatched ahead of time to prepare the buyer in terms of receiving the goods. Uses of advice note. Number one, it informs the buyer that his goods or her goods are on the way. Two, it shows the means of transport used. Which means of transportation is going to be used in sending the goods. Number three, it indicates the time the goods are likely to be delivered, the time. Then we have just a sample of advice notes. We have the address of the sender, as usual, with Jibawa Islamic Bookshop and Stationery, dated 31st July 2020. And it is sent to Khadija Ismail and Goshanu Kaduna. Dear Ma, we have sent by our van the following goods: 100 copies of Holy Quran, 30 copies of Sahih al-Bukhari, 20 copies of Ibn Majah, 4 copies of the Lisan al-Arab. Yours faithfully, Sales Manager. You would just sign and send. And by the time the buyer receives this document, the buyer will now have an idea of when the goods are coming and prepare for the goods, prepare to receive the goods. And that's all about advice note. We go to number 6 now, which is a delivery note. Delivery note. This is talking about where the goods are already sent. As the goods are sent, remind you, I have mentioned earlier on that when the goods are sent, the goods are normally sent with a document known as an invoice. An invoice, as said earlier on, accompanies the goods. That's talking about invoice. Now we have another document too that is known as a delivery note that equally goes with the goods. Equally goes with the goods. When the goods are delivered, a document will accompany the goods as well. This time around, the buyer will sign that he has received the goods, and a copy will be taken back to the seller. Unlike in an invoice, where there is nothing like taking back to the seller. But in terms of delivery note, after the goods are delivered, the buyer will be given the document, and he will sign a copy, keep one with him, and then give possibly the driver or the person who has taken the goods, so that the copy will be taken back to the seller, for the seller to know that yes, the goods sent has actually been delivered, and delivered without any problem. Uses. It is used to confirm the collection of goods on arrival, like I said earlier on. Number 2, it serves as evidence of delivery. This is just a sample. You have seen the goods being sent, their quantities, their catalog reference number, so on and so forth. And of course, like I said, there are 2 blank spaces, 1 for the buyer to sign, 2 for the seller to sign. So both of them will sign to make the document a valid document. It is sent by the seller to the buyer. Again, it is sent by the seller to the buyer. Now we go to the next document, which is talking about document number 7, known as catalog. Catalog. It's a complete list of items usually arranged in alphabetical or systematic order. It is a list of items for sale made, available and shared to prospective buyers, intended buyers, potential buyers. This document is normally prepared and sent to different people for them to know the goods that are available. for them to have an idea of what a seller has. And of course, has to offer for sale. Details of what he has will be sent to different buyers, different people that are expected to buy. Use this, number one, it is used to inform the buyers of the details of goods, such as prices, terms of delivery, and payment. Number two, it can also be used as a reply to inquiry. Now, instead of the seller, the supplier, to give or write a quotation, when a letter of inquiry is sent, the seller can just pick a catalog and then send, because it contains details. It contains details of so many things that are there for the buyer to go through and then see whether he's ready to agree on those terms or not. Use this. Number one, it is used to inform the buyers of the details of goods, such as prices, terms of delivery, payment, etc. Number two, it can also be used as a reply to inquiry. That's talking about catalog. And we go to the last one, which is price list. Price list. It is a statement or list of prevailing prices of goods issued by the seller to the buyer. This document is equally from the seller to the buyer. And it is used to keep the buyers occasionally on current prices of goods. As you know, prices changes. As prices change from time to time, the seller continuously keep updating the buyer on the prices of goods that are available for the buyer to have an idea without necessarily going to be asking of such changes. And sometimes this is normally printed in a piece of paper, just a piece of paper, and sometimes it's even pasted as we go into an organization. As we enter into the building, possibly at the reception, you see it placed on a notice board so that anyone that's going there to see, without necessarily asking anybody, can read the different goods available and their different prices. That's what you call price list. One, uses of price list. One, it is used to inform buyers about these sort of goods, their prices as well as delivery terms. Number two, it is used to compare prices given by different sellers. You can use it to compare prices of different sellers. Number three, it guides the buyer in terms of making choice. The buyer will be guided as to where to buy, which seller offers the best price. That's just about what we have discussed with you as far as this class is concerned. In summary, we were able to discuss 8 different documents and their uses. We have given you a sample of those documents, and we have traced who is sending the document, who is receiving the document. So I need you to take note of those things. Who is sending the document? Who is receiving the document? What are the documents? What are their contents? What are their uses? By the time you know this, be okay. You can sit down and write your exams without any fear or problem. Now we go to references, or rather assignment. Number one, we have 2 questions. Number one, write short note on any 3 of the following documents used in buying and selling of goods. A, letter of inquiry. B, quotation. C, order. D, invoice. Again, write short note on any 3 of the following documents used in buying and selling. A, letter of inquiry. B, quotation. C, order. D, invoice. You have to take, out of these 4, you take 3 and write A on any of them. 2A, distinguish between a price list and a catalog. Number 2A, distinguish between a price list and a catalog. Number 2B, state any 2 uses of each of the following. 1, advice note. to delivery note. Again, state any two uses of each of the following. 1, advice notes. 2, delivery note. Let me go quickly to do reference. For your reference, you can go. You can read more using any of these books or all of the books. 1, Essential Commerce for Senior Secondary Schools by O.A. Longe. Essential Commerce for Senior Secondary Schools by O.A. Longe. 2, Comprehensive Commerce for Senior Secondary Schools by J.U. Anyele. My name is Abbas Shehu. 081 00127508. That's my number. Abbas Shehu. 081 00127508. You can send your assignment through this number. Or my colleague, Yari Zakaria, on 080 656 94134. Yari Zakaria on 080 656 94134. Stay home, stay safe, and keep learning. See you in our next class.